Okay, good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the City Council of Monday, March 10th. Can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Klein.
Here.
Councilmember Lane.
Here.
Councilmember Rhino.
Here.
Vice Mayor Durosset.
Here.
Mayor Vieira.
Here. Next, we will have the invocation by, is Reverend Green here this evening? Mr. Britton, would you do us the honors this evening? And then that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our eternal Heavenly Father, we're so thankful, Father, for the many blessings we enjoy, especially for the freedoms that we have. We're thankful that we have an opportunity to govern ourselves. Father, we ask this night that Thy Spirit might be here to guide and direct the affairs of this City Council meeting. Please continue to be with the members of the City Council that they might give direction and guidance to the citizens of Ceres and the activities that go here. We ask for Thy protection for the police and fire and all those that work for the city, that they might be safe from harm and accident. We ask for Thy protection on our service men and women, wherever they might be throughout this world. We dedicate ourselves to Thee, and we do it in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Britton. This evening we have a number of presentations. The first presentation is a proclamation declaring March as National Red Cross Month. Is Rebecca Cizak here? Great. If you come forward. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. A proclamation declaring March as Red Cross Month in the city of Ceres. Whereas the American Red Cross was founded in 1882 by Cara Burton, a woman selflessly devoted to humanity, and whereas compassion, courage, character, civic duty are inherent in the Red Cross mission to prevent and relieve human suffering, and the city of Ceres shares these grand ideals, and whereas the Red Cross was chartered and authorized by Congress to act in times of need, providing compassionate assistance to people afflicted by personal, local, or national disasters. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chris Vieira, Mayor of the City of Ceres, do hereby declare March 2014 as Red Cross Month and urge our citizens to join me in saluting the Red Cross, its volunteers, staff, blood donors, and supporters for their willingness and effectiveness in helping others. Proclaim this 10th day of March 2014.
Members of City Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, staff, and community members, I am really honored to be here tonight. What a special night when I woke up this morning and read the paper. I am humbled, actually, to be here in the midst of two young men that saved their niece's life, as I'm sure we all are. The American Red Cross has been in Stanislaus County for 97 years, and we are, during Red Cross Month, March, we really try to push and support and educate the community on preparedness and safety to help our citizens to be in a more prepared state, to be ready to take care of their family in time of emergency or disaster. And in Stanislaus County, we respond, and I have all these flyers that have information on preparedness. Over here when you leave. I would love for you to take them. There's some really valuable information. But we, the Stanislaus County, our chapter is called the Capital Region Chapter, and we go from Stanislaus County up to the Sacramento border along Highway 5 up near the mountains where we meet with the Alameda County, and then up into the mountains. We respond in that region every 16 hours, and that every 16 hours is to a home fire. Home fire is the #1 disaster across the nation, and American Red Cross responds 24/7, 365 days a year. In this packet that I have is information on being prepared for home fire, to prevent and alleviate, and how to respond and get your family out safely. In Stanislaus County, we respond every 36 hours to a home fire on average. So far this year, just since July through January, we've expended $33,000 on home fires alone. So we really would rather not have to go to the donors for those dollars. We would rather never to have to expend those dollars, but we do. And we're there to take care of families in need, and we also are here to prepare families. Thank you so much for having me here tonight, and I really appreciate the proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have citizen recognition by the Ceres Department of Public Safety. Mr. DeWort?
Thank you, Mayor, and indeed this is a very special presentation. At this time, I'd like to call up Angelo Bermudez, Domingo Bermudez, Amanda Rodriguez, and of course we'd like to see Melania. And this is a situation where two young men basically restored the gift of life to this little girl right here. And this happened on February 22nd. And what I'm prepared to do here is to get Sergeant James Yandell to come here, who was present that day, to tell the story in his own words. But there's so many things that happen in our world that are just so awful. And then look at this little girl here. We should be rejoicing what has happened here. So James, if you'll come up and talk about what happened, and I could go on, but I think I better just let the story be told. Thank you.
Okay, give you a little background for those of you who aren't aware. On Saturday, February 22nd, at a little after 10 a.m. in the morning, we received a call of a possible disturbance, someone requesting ambulance in the area of Sagittarius, which is a street over on the east side of town. While we were en route over there, Fire Battalion Chief Mike Lilly advised us that they were responding to a drowning in that same area, kind of put two and two together that it was probably the same incident. When we arrived on scene, Melania was already in the back of the ambulance, and what we came to find out was that Melania is a busy 18-month-old and just had that brief moment where she got away from Grandma, and I mean it happens. I'm a parent, and in a flash she ended up in the pool. Grandma found her in the bottom of the pool, made an initial rescue attempt, wasn't able to get her out, and then the two heroes that are her sons, Domingo and Angelo, basically they jumped into action. Domingo heard his mom crying for help. He ran out there in full clothes because he was soaking wet jeans and shirt when we got there, dove into the pool, went into the deep end, pulled his niece out, and although he's received no formal training in CPR, he immediately initiated a life-saving CPR on the infant. While that was going on, his mom, Norma, had placed a call to 911, was speaking to, I believe it's Amanda, on the phone, and then Amanda, being the professional that she was, immediately started talking them through the formal life-saving process, CPR, and so on. Angelo and Domingo then continued CPR, including mouth-to-mouth, following the directions provided by Amanda, and were able to get Melania breathing again. She had vomited and gotten some of the water out of her system, and AMR, who was the first emergency units on scene, were able to just continue the care. We did a follow-up at the hospital, and when we spoke to the doctor said that basically it's a miracle baby, that she appeared to have no deficits, was going to be healthy and fine. And it's just, I want to say in 18 years of being involved in public safety, you don't normally see this outcome. And you definitely don't see this from a couple of teenage boys who've had no formal training. They immediately leaped into action. to save their niece, and they were very calm. The entire time we were on scene, they spoke in a calm manner. They were consoling their mom, who was obviously very distraught over what had happened to her granddaughter. And these two boys really need to be recognized for what they did. They were amazingly professional and calm throughout the whole thing.
I'm going to stand up and say something real fast. I was a dispatcher that first was on the phone with the grandmother, and I spoke to, I believe, are you Angelo? Okay, well, I was the person that was on the phone with you, and you did such a great job. Most people who are on the phone are obviously very upset, distraught, and scared about what's going on and what's happening, but you kept it cool the whole time. You did a really great job. So it was nice to meet you. Can I give this to her?
Traffic. He really wanted to be here though. But
Yeah, I don't know if you just heard that Angelo says that his brother was unable to get here on time because of traffic, but these two guys are truly heroes, and I just can't help but I can't get over the beauty of this whole situation. And maybe you want to say a few words?
forgive me. I could almost break down right now. I mean, this is my first niece, and I mean, my brother. I mean, we look at her like somebody's like she's more than a niece to us. She's like almost like a little daughter of us, really, or a little sister. But something that nobody in this room wants to hear about, see, even think about, and I'm just happy. God bless.
I want to thank all of the family members and other people, friends, and neighbors that came to join us for this momentous day. And I want to thank the dispatcher for her action too. But in our world, particularly in public safety, we see a lot of very bad things, and it's just nice to have such a beautiful outcome. And I'm so proud of the two brothers, and it's all good, and I want to thank everybody.
Thank you, Art. The next presentation we have is a demonstration of new public safety scanning devices.
So we'll have Lieutenant Collins and his two traffic officers will come and explain what we're doing here.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This contraption that you see in front of you, probably blocking your view, is called the total station. Mr. Wells, Mr. Britton are probably familiar with this. It's used by engineers and surveyors. But quickly, Officer Coley and Officer Kitcher will explain the applications for law enforcement.
Thank you. It's going to be a little bit hard to follow that presentation. Thanks. Oh, great, good job, man. We're all very proud of you. That's awesome. Thank you for having us. We appreciate your time. Before we get into the meat and bones of talking about our new toy here, it's important, I think, you know just a little bit of our history. In 1984, the traffic unit was formed by then Chief Pete Peterson, and two officers made up that unit. The purpose of our unit is to enforce traffic laws, reduce vehicle collisions, provide education to motoring public and our youth in schools, and to investigate all major and fatality accidents. In the old days, up until very recently, we've used some very old-fashioned techniques to document a fatality scene. This meant by using 100-foot steel tapes in a roadway and then measuring off from those points. As you can probably guess, it took a long time to do that. And it was very painstaking, and then had to transfer all that information onto a paper and magically become an artist to make it look pretty for court. So it was very difficult, and but we all got it done because we had to. In 2012, Stanislaus County received a grant known as the Avoid the 12. Ceres Police Traffic Unit decided to take on and be the head spearing agency for that. We received funds for enforcement of DUIs, DUI checkpoints, and saturation patrols in all of the county agency areas. Because we were the host agency the last 2 years, we also received extra money for equipment. This is how this was purchased, and the grant was from the California Office of Traffic Safety. So we were very fortunate to get that, and it's going to help us a lot. This brings me to our piece of equipment here. This is a Leica TS02 total station. It's a reflectorless station, which means that we can basically point the laser at a certain item, the road, lane, whatever we want to take measurements of and document where that is. We can point the laser there and hit a little button, and it picks it right up and makes a little point. Officer Kitcher here is going to just walk around and show you. Before you guys got here today, we took the liberty of measuring all of the seats and their locations, and you guys can just see how it kind of forms up, and everything's placed up to the north. The data collector that Officer Kitcher is showing you, that's basically the meat and bones of the thing. It collects all the information that the total station collects from the roadway. So all the information is in the data collector. When we get done with a scene, we take it back to our software that we have, and we basically, through Bluetooth, transfer all that information onto the software we use to make the diagram look pretty. That software, this is a Trimble data collector, and I said this is a Leica, and the software we use is from Visual Statement, and it's FX Edge 3D diagramming. Not only will this help our department with traffic collisions, but we could also use it in homicide scenes. So it's going to be very important that me and Officer Kitcher, along with 2 detectives that were trained a couple days here a couple weeks ago, paramount that we keep using this to get better at it and better at it. The total cost of the unit, along with the software that we purchased from the grant, was about $9,500. So we're very fortunate, and we're very excited to actually have this. We look forward to using it. It's going to make our job a lot easier, I can tell you that right now. I'm very excited to use this thing. It's paramount that we keep training with this to get more proficient with it. We're not to the point yet, but we're very close, and it's going to take a while. And the funds, there's actually another school we can go to that helps us learn how to use the software system, because you can imagine there's all kinds of stuff in there. And so we're practicing with that, and hopefully we can find the funds to go to that school. Do you have any questions?
Any question?
All right.
Mr. DeWort?
I just want to point out that Sergeant Chris Perry is not here this evening, but he and his team of traffic officers exercised this innovation that led to the city acquiring this technology. And it does put us in the modern age, and I just want to acknowledge the fact that, you know, a lot of times people look at police officers in a very fundamental way, but we have innovative guys. They're on top of their game, and they're always pushing me and the other administrators in the PD to grow with the technology that comes out there. And that's what makes for an excellent traffic unit, makes for an excellent department, and then for an excellent city government. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I move on to the next item, I wanted to take a minute to, if there's any in the audience that wanted to get up. I know you were here for the item number 2, I think. We won't keep you any longer if you wanted to take a minute to.
I'm 8.
some that want to stick around for the Mike Borges thing.
Okay.
Still a lot of people left.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next presentation is a proclamation honoring Deputy Police Chief Mike Borges. So, Mr. Borges, did you want to come forward so I can read this? Little historical walk down memory lane. All right. All right. Proclamation honoring Mike Borges for his years of service to the city of Ceres, excuse me. Whereas in April of 1980, after 4 years of serving in the United States Army Military Police, Michael V. Borges became a police officer with the city of Ceres. The Ceres Police sponsored Mike while he attended the police academy, and thankfully, Mike chose to remain in Ceres. Mike has worked in various positions within the Ceres Police Department organization, to include detective from 1984 to 1987, during which time he investigated crimes against children. And in 1987, Mike became a field training officer and corporal, and in 1988, he was promoted to the position of sergeant. As a sergeant, Mike supported patrol operations as a watch commander/supervisor, along with being an advisor to the Ceres Police Explorer program for over 10 years. In addition, Mike served as the SWAT team leader for 8 years and spent over 4 years supervising the Ceres Police Detective Bureau. And in 2005, Mike was appointed as the Police Division Commander, which was later retitled to Deputy Police Chief. For over 34 years, Mike has served tirelessly as a premier law enforcement professional, exhibiting determination and leadership for the betterment of the city of Ceres community. During his career, Deputy Chief Borges has demonstrated his dedication, compassion, and concern for all members of the Ceres community. Mike has served as a mentor and a role model for the next generation of Ceres law enforcement professionals who have benefited from his tough love style, earning him the nickname Dad. Mike is leaving behind a strong legacy and will remain an invaluable pillar of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chris Vieira, Mayor of the City of Ceres, and the entire City Council hereby thank Mike Borges for 34 years of dedicated service to his community, proclaim this 10th day of March 2014.
Do I get to talk? I get to talk? No. You really want to let me have the microphone? No. One of my sergeants once put in one of my evaluations that I was too verbose. I don't think that's changed. No, it's been an honor to serve this community and be part of this organization. I've been fortunate to have basically two families, my police family and my real family. My wife, Susan, who has supported me for 33 years of this 34-year career, is in the back. My oldest son, Christopher, my daughter-in-law, Michelle, and one of my grandchildren, Abigail, and my youngest son, Brian, and his wife, Cameo, and one of my newest grandsons to be on the way, Dominic, my granddaughter, and my other son is busy with baseball and his kids, so he couldn't be here. And I'd be the coaching if I wasn't here then. So again, it's been my honor, and I'll definitely have some pains leaving because I'll be leaving behind a lot of good people and a lot of good memories, but I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be part of this community and plan on serving it in other ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. DeWort?
Well, having worked with Mike for the last 15 years, I want to point out a couple of things that the proclamation does not say. Now, me, I, and other people have a lot more to say this coming Friday at Mike's retirement party, but let me just point out for public consumption that not only is he dedicated, but key to a powerful and respectable leader are such things as integrity, honesty, dedication, and commitment. And Mike truly has manifested all of those features at all times that I've known him. And that's why he ended up in a very high position in the police organization. But frankly, he had a lot of influence throughout the whole city organization. So I can tell you that for my part, losing Mike is going to be, I'm going to have to go through a major adjustment. And Susie, thank you for, you put up with a lot. I know that. Well, aside from his personality, but here's the thing about the kind of work that Mike has done for these 33 years, but the things that we're exposed to and that he specifically was exposed to tears a person up. And when that person goes home, who do you think takes the brunt of it? Whether it is through, hey, honey, I don't want to talk tonight, or you should see, you don't even want to know what I saw today, or I had to terminate an employee who I liked. Those are all things that Mike took the brunt of it, but so did you, Susie. And I think you helped keep him together all these years, and I appreciate that because he really made it possible for me to do my job better than I would have without him. So again, I better save some of my comments for Friday night, but I particularly want members of the public to know what a invaluable, honorable, and dedicated person this is. And yeah, it's time for him to retire because we all get older, but it's a hell of a loss to this organization, and I thank you.
Thank you, Art. And I just want to say thank you, Mr. Borges, for your service. Not only did you do a tremendous job for the Ceres PD, but I think you mentioned coaching baseball. I think that was one of the first interactions when I got to meet with you. And it's impressive when someone not only commits to the community in a public safety role, but also does other things in the community. And Mike can always be found over at Costa Fields and doing all sorts of coaching. So again, Mike, thank you for your 34 years. I'm sure it went faster than you'd like to admit, but now you get to move on to the second part of life that's probably pretty enjoyable. So thank you again. At this time, we will move to the approval of the minutes of the regular meetings of January 27th, February 24th, 2014, and the joint City Council Planning Commission study session of February 24th. All members were present for those.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 10th, 2014. Councilmember Klein was excused for that.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one abstention. Citizens' communication to the council on matters not included on the agenda. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in City Council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes for expression of non-agenda items. Matters under the jurisdiction of the City Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the City Council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Citizens are entitled to address the City Council on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. This time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on a non-agenda item? If so, please come forth and state your name and address for the record.
Leonard Shepard, 2841 Fowler Road, number 71. The heroes tonight were it was so good to see young people, those two brothers, not caring whether they got wet or whatever, diving in and bringing out their niece and saving her life, and then to be so shy about it, not saying, oh, look at us. Those are heroes. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Then there are some other heroes. One of them was involved with those young men. If you think that being a dispatcher is a ho-hum job or is easy, it isn't. That young lady, with her knowledge and her experience, calmly talked those young men through the process, and she's a hero. She was just doing her job, if you ask her, but she was doing it as a professional. And she was doing the job that saved that baby's life. And the fire people and the police people, from experience, I know that you see some really terrible things out there. Really terrible. But then you see something like the smile on a child's face when you hand them a teddy bear. We used to carry teddy bears in our fire engines on Highway 280 and 101 in San Mateo County, because the worst thing you can see is a child that's injured, or a child whose parents have been injured badly. They're scared, and you can hand them something like the dispatcher handed to that little girl, and that makes a whole difference. And that makes something like that, you see, it makes you feel like you've actually done something worthwhile. And yet anyone, you ask from Deputy Chief Borges on down through and Brian Nichols from the fire side, are you heroes? To somebody you are. To yourself, you're just doing your job. But I want to say thank you to both our police and fire for being who you are. And don't forget those dispatchers. Isn't that right, Art?
That's correct.
So if you ever get a chance, have the chief take you down through into the dispatch center and sit there and listen to all the stuff that comes in, whether it's police, fire, ambulance runs. It's awesome. And they just do it like it's nothing. I went to school to be a dispatcher, and I turned it down and went home after I retired and said, no, I don't think I want to do this. So just be thankful, everybody in Ceres, that we have such a wonderful public service, public safety organization.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and staff. My name's Beth Hunt. I'm with the Ceres Chamber of Commerce. I just would like to invite everybody here, and you also, to a mixer that we are having this Thursday night at 5:30. It's classic wine vinegar out on Brewmaster Way. It's 4110 Brewmaster. And so it should be a pretty good one. I don't know if all of you have ever been there and sampled their wine vinegars. They're also going to have, wine and other stuff there. So come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda as posted or amended and certification of posting. I think there's one change under the adjournment section that should read Monday, March 24th. Any other revisions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We have no appointments to boards or commissions this evening. Conflict of interest declaration. Is there anyone on the council that would like to declare a conflict of interest on any of the 4 consent calendar items or 1 resolution under new business? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. If discussion is required, that particular item will be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered separately. Can I have the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Item 1, general correspondence information only. Item 1A, Public Works Department monthly report for January 2014. 1B, Building Department monthly report for February 2014. 1C, Major Project Update, March 1st, 2014. 1D, Capital Improvement Projects, CIP Update, March 1st, 2014. Item 2, Register of Audited Demands for period covering February 20th through the 25th, 2014. Item 3, Resolution 2014-23, awarding a contract to Storer Transit Systems to operate Ceres Transit. Item 4, accept the City of Ceres audited financial reports as of June 30, 2013.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the council that would like a consent calendar item pulled for further discussion? I believe, Mr. DeWerk, you wanted item number 4 pulled.
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like either 1A through D, 2 or 3 pulled for further discussion? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for direction on the first 3 items.
Move for approval of 1, A, B, C, D, 2, and 3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 4, accept the City of Ceres audited financial report as of June 30th, 2013.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the finance staff is really made up of a group of unheralded professionals. And this is the 3rd year in a row that I know of that they earned the highest audit rating possible. It's called unqualified audit, and to us lay people it probably is a strange term. But in the finance world, it is the highest rating you can earn in a city government organization. This is work that most of us, frankly, whether we had the skills or not, we couldn't pull it off because the intense focus that it requires to pour through incredible numbers of pages of financial documents and making sure the numbers are correct and that all factors are represented. And I forgot just how much time goes into, but I think this is a multi-week process to work with the auditors. That's one part of it, but getting the finances to a point where the auditors give you that high rating requires an excellent, high-quality staff. And this is the kind of thing that I used the word unheralded a little bit ago, and that's because I think that the people who work quietly but busily in the background get very little accolades for their efforts. And that's why I wanted this item pulled, because they deserve, and I'm talking about Suzanne Dean, who's sitting right in front of us here, Sheila, of course, who's sitting there near the overhead projector, and then, of course, their staff. And I would like, and I see she's ready to do it, I'd like Suzanne to say a couple of words.
No, it wasn't pre-planned. I just decided that this was my one chance to really give some praise to my staff. We have 9 women that work in the finance department, and there is everyone in the department, with the exception of one person, is in possession of a bachelor's degree in some field. 4 of us have accounting degrees. So the 4 people with accounting degrees, we do a lot of additional work, extra work, so that it makes everything go more smoothly. We've reduced our number of journal entries down from about 800 down to about 600, and they're more routine. We're not constantly fixing things. Sheila does her reviews, and she's not finding as many things to reclassify. And it's been because the women in this department take just great pride in doing their jobs, and they do an excellent job. Andre Magdaleno does payroll. She is assisted by Shauna Wilson, and Shauna also does business licensing. Olga Mendoza is revenue and customer service supervisor. Letitia Diaz is our accountant. And Alondra Rodriguez, she is our accounts payable clerk, and anyone who's had to deal with her knows that she is extremely good at what she does. Nothing gets by her, and she makes sure that all of our purchasing policies are followed to the T. I check all of her work before we issue checks, and it's rare that I find a misposting or an inaccurate description or just anything. She's just that good. Then we have the 4 ladies who do utilities, and they follow the rules, they apply them equally, and they take great pride in their work. And it's because of that that we have an audit process that now is very smooth and streamlined, and it's helped the city a lot. And this is our big thing is audit. So I just wanted to make sure they got recognized too.
Okay. I would like to also echo some of the same comments that Mr. DeWerk mentioned. Oftentimes, we probably sit up here and take it for granted that the bookkeeping is in order and that everything is placed where it should be. So I want to thank you for that. And as indicated in here, it's the highest honor you can get, and it's one that I know that I'm very appreciative, and I wanted to thank you for all your hard work and dedication for that. Thank you, Sheila, and thank you, Suzanne, and the rest of the group. So, any other comments? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for direction on this item.
Move for approval of item 4.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We have no unfinished business this evening, and we have no public hearings. We have one item under new business. That's resolution number 2014-24, accepting the Urban Futures Inc. Economic Development Strategic Plan project as complete. Mr. DeWerk?
Well, the report speaks for itself. We started out over a year ago to have the city set up with a plan that will guide us for the development of our economic future. And we went through some contortions, but I think that we're at a point now where the project, in my view, is complete. I have asked Marshall Lynn, who's a principal of Urban Futures Incorporated, to come and speak directly to the council about basically the conclusion of this. But the thing I want to point out is that, you know, when I asked the council to authorize the expenditure of $121,000, I mean, it's not necessarily impressive to see a document that reflects that, but it's the work that goes into it and the fact that, unlike in the past, we actually have the ability now to move forward and to point this city into a future where we're not just ambling along and where we have the ability to understand what kinds of attractors we have for business and what we need to do to retain business and to give us a footing for a brighter economic future. So with that, I'll ask Mr. Lynn to come up, and he's got a short PowerPoint, and he will do the speaking.
Thank you, Art, for the extremely kind words. And yes, it has been a very, very, very long process. And Toby, what do I do to bring it down here? I don't want to break it because it's probably cost a fortune. Thank you. This process has actually gone on for about 14 months or so, and it basically concluded with a document that turned out to be 207 pages long, filled with a whole host of information about Ceres and what you can expect in the future. We're extremely proud of the document, and we certainly hope that everybody on the City Council and staff will have a chance to read it not just once, but twice. It's the kind of reading that you want to take home at night. If you can't fall asleep at 12 o'clock at night, pick up the document and read it. I guarantee you will fall asleep. But it is filled with facts and figures, and I think they're extremely helpful. As Art pointed out, it really is a roadmap of where to go, what you can expect in the future. It's not the panacea, and hopefully it's not a book that you put up on the shelf that just sits there year after year after year. If you really follow this, do what it says to do, you'll at least have a hope to turn things around here in the city of Ceres. But, and my PowerPoint was long, but I will go through it extremely quickly. I had budgeted about an hour or so, and everybody was kind of moaning about that, so I'll cut it down to about 20 minutes. First, let me make just a few editorial comments and so on that making changes here in Ceres will take time. Ceres is in the condition that it's in, and that has taken place over an extended period of time. It took years to get here. It's going to take years to get out of it. And growth is market driven. Local government only has so much to say. If it doesn't make sense in the private sector, no matter what you do, it's not going to happen. You have to work hand in hand with the private sector to make things happen. Government itself cannot make things happen unless the market is actually here. If you do take time to read the document, I particularly call your attention to Appendix E in the back of the document, which really gives you a roadmap of things that you ought to be doing. What I have tonight in the PowerPoint is a very, very short presentation giving some of the highlights of the document. As I said before, because time is getting a little bit late, I'll try to go through it as quickly as possible. As stated in the first page, the purpose of the Ceres Economic Development Plan provide the city of Ceres with a guide for the retention, expansion, and attraction of industrial commercial businesses that will sustain, enhance economic viability of the city itself. Urban Futures was a prime contractor on the job. We joint venture with Robert Charles Lesser and Company, RELCO. RELCO is a nationally known economist who does major projects throughout the entire world, and particularly focusing on the East Coast and in California. And TK Engineering, who helped us with all of the public works aspect. Urban Futures served as the actual lead on the job. The consultant team would like to thank staff, particularly Art, Sheila, Toby, and Tom, and Tracy for their hard work. They were there with us all the way. Any times that we had any questions or needed any additional information, in particular Toby, he was there. It was really extremely helpful. And again, thank you on the City Council for the time and effort that you have also put forth. So what is the purpose and the structure of the exercise? The objectives of the strategy process were to define appropriate, realistic, implementable strategic initiatives and actions that will help the city of Ceres step up to the next level and to achieve meaningful economic development goals and objectives. Strategy actually contains 2 chapters and a series of appendices. Appendices, again, are something that you definitely need to read as well as chapters 1 and 2. Chapter 1 contains the findings, conclusions, and Chapter 2 details the economic development goals, objectives, and tactics to be taken. And 3, the appendix supplies the reader with the background data that they will need in the future. The city of Ceres has been in existence for approximately 100 years, and now the city is really at a point in time where it needs to reinvent itself. National economic trends, and particularly here in this part of the state of California, has meant that that a lot of property values have dropped down. We have had the ending of RDA within the state of California, so tax bases are not what they were back in 2007, 2008. Quite frankly, the state of California has been more of a hindrance than a help. The state of California, at least in my opinion, again, an editorial comment, does not really particularly care about cities. I think the actions they've taken over the last 6 or 7 years, I think is very, very, very plain. The report itself was not drafted in a vacuum. We actually had a host of meetings with the public. The public was invited, and people from the Chamber of Commerce were here. We want to talk about the strengths and weaknesses within the city of Ceres and people that are actually here on a daily basis. We also talked about the demographic factors that affect the city and the market area you have here. And over the last 5 years, the average annual employment growth are forecast to be 1.3% to 1.6% range. So you're going to have very, very slow growth of employment within the city. The unemployment rate in Stanislaus County is projected to decline from right now at current level of 15.5% to about 14.4% by the end of this year, and by 2017, the unemployment rate will get as low as about 10.2%, which is still higher than the national average. So unemployment is a very, very serious problem within this county. Stanislaus County is projected to grow, but although at a very, very slow pace over the next 4 to 5 years. Real personal income, which is extremely important in trying to attract businesses, is projected to grow by 3%. Now, what are the opportunities? I'll get down to it quickly here. Stanislaus County has potential to attract about 7.1 million square feet of new industrial space between 2013 and 2020. Ceres, stars line up, and if you have an active program to promote economic growth, can capture about 300,000 to 600,000 square feet of future industrial space between 2013 and 2020, if not more, if you come up with the right types of programs. Between 2013 and 2020, the county of Stanislaus submarket outside of the Modesto area have the potential to capture about 300,000 square feet of new office space. Ceres, which does not have much in the way of office space now, can hope to capture about 14,000 to 16,000 square feet. So office space here within the city is not a strong suit, and that probably won't be changing over the next couple of years. The retail market is basically served by existing businesses in Modesto and Turlock, and there's some hopes of getting some additional stores here, but not much, because the retail market here is very well saturated. Within the actual document itself, and shown on the slide on your screen, is the industrial market opportunities. I won't go into the graph in detail. But the Ceres industrial space outlook represents different market capture assumptions for the city of Ceres. And again, the low end range assumes conservatively that Ceres market capture rate drops below its historical capture rate, which reflects some vulnerability from the emergence of a growing, more competitive market. There's a lot of other industrial parks around the area that do serve as competition in Ceres. We have to get out there in front of that curve. The high end assumes that the city of Ceres will be successful in its economic program, and that we'll be able to improve what we've had over the past years by about 50%. Again, with a ongoing program of being aggressive. Given a floor area ratio of about 0.025, which is typical for an industrial park, that would translate out to about between 27 to 55 acres of land. And again, the area itself, Ceres itself, is not in a good area as far as bringing new additional office space. We would just assume that the office space that will be built over the next few years will be the typical 1- and 2-story office building. Can this change in the future? The answer is definitely yes. Found also in your slide 2 is a sensitivity analysis, which I won't go into detail. As a result of our discussions with many, many people and community participation and infrastructure analysis, we actually identified target areas, what are called EDTAs, Economic Development Target Areas. These have actually been identified of the things that the areas that we should be looking at here strongly within the city of Ceres. Mitchell Road, Highway 99, the southwest area of the city. Those are the 3 target areas. There's a map also found too, and those areas are outlined in red. The very, very important part of economic growth within a city is the ability for a city or any government agency to supply adequate infrastructure. What we've come up with, again, with the help of Toby's office, the infrastructure analysis for water, things that we are asking, or that should be done here, that the water system that you should construct the water master plan, existing system, and recommend improvements that directly affect these target areas. Sure, the same thing. Put your money in those areas that directly affect those three particular target areas. And 3, drainage, complete the drainage system master plan and update the public facilities fee consistent with the findings of the plan. As far as streets go, construct the roadway improvement necessary to serve the areas, again, the 3 target areas. As far as water and gas, and as far as gas and power, coordinate those efforts with the Turtle Rock Irrigation District and Pacific Gas and Electric, AT&T. And 3, probably the most important aspect, you have existing bond funds left over from the 2006 RDA bonds. Those monies should be used, at least in our opinion, to put in the necessary infrastructure to bring in additional economic growth. One of the really important aspects, and the document talks about this over and over again, is the need to finance an economic development program within the city of Ceres. We're recommending an annual budget of about $350,000 a year for 7 years. That's a lot of money. We've also paid a lot of money for this document, and you don't want to have it sit there on a shelf. So you need to have a dedicated person on staff that can really go out and bring in business to the extent that it's possible. We realize that Ceres has a lot of fiscal aspects of it, and that's a lot of money. One of the things that you might want to think about using is that with the ending of RDA, that any amount of money over existing debt service and bonds, each of the individual tax agencies, including the city of Ceres, gets 100% pass-through after bonds are paid for. So you do have money coming in that you would not have had, excepting for the ending of RDA. And we're saying those are probably the funds that you should use to fund a particular person that would be dedicated to this endeavor. We also have a host of findings, which I won't go into in detail, but it talks about bringing up your fees and your fine structure and things such as that, and anything that you possibly can to bring in more money to the general fund. But the recommended economic development goal is to implement initiatives that facilitate the retention, expansion, and attraction of businesses that will retain and increase employment opportunities and more fully serve the needs of city residents. And this capitalization, the economic development strategy, really talks about increased fiscal capacity and funding economic growth, implement effective economic growth by choosing, again, to fund very, very pinpoint, targeted types of projects that will have a payout at the end. Business retention, the city should focus on that. It's much easier to keep businesses within your city than it is to bring new people in, new companies in. You need to pay particular attention to businesses that are within your city, make sure that you have continual contact with them. Business expansion, attraction, the best kind of business is to grow your own businesses within this city. You have to get to know those kinds of people. Who are the movers and shakers within the city? What large companies are there? You need to go out and make personal visits with them. Economic development is not an 8-to-5 job. I think it's an 8-to-5 job, you're kidding yourself. It's not. It's a lot longer. A lot of meetings have to meet. A lot of times you have to meet breakfast meetings in the evening, so forth and so on. You have to go out to the various plants, various companies, and people that have the ability to bring new jobs and other types of industry within to the city itself. Chapter 2, we talked about economic goals and objectives and tactics. I just want to make a couple comments here. Given changing economic conditions, local governments are competing for business interests. That means every local government competes against you. And you have two monsters, one to the south and one to the north. So you have to be competitive. The city may need to update the strategy. We're probably within the next 4 to 5 years in order to meet challenging a challenging and changing economic climate. Strategy, again, is a 7-year strategy. Will run from 2013-14 to 2019 and 20. We won't be able to implement it all in a year, 2 years, 3 or 4 years. Again, it's going to be a long, very, very slow process, but the best time to get started on it was yesterday. Primary economic goal and so on is to implement initiatives that facilitate, the retention, expansion, and attraction of businesses that will retain, increase employment opportunities, and more fully serve the city's needs. That's the main focus. Talk about various objectives, and I'm not going to go through these things in detail. But we need to increase, again, the fiscal ability, the ability for the city to fund a position to implement this plan. And that position, we think, should be under the guidance of the city manager, and should be in the manager's office. And when this person goes out to meetings, should have the ability to speak for the manager, and should be a dedicated employee. City manager is a leading non-policy maker within the city. I think it's going to be incumbent. I know Art's got his plate filled, and Art, you're a tall guy, and you can take a little bit more. But Art also has the personality to go out and meet people. I think this is a tremendous plus. He's not afraid to go out and meet the public, and I think that's a plus. And too many managers I've seen throughout the state of California huddle in their office and say, business will come to us. Not so. You need to go out and get it. We talk about tactics and options and actions. I won't go through these in detail. Read them at your leisure. Talk about, again, the actual programs, plan for the growth. You need to plan for growth. You need to coordinate the CIP with this plan to make sure that, again, that the strategic initiatives you're initiating do result in increased economic opportunities within the city. It's incumbent for staff and the dedicated person, including the manager, the public works director, and the city planner, know your businesses. What kind of businesses do you have here in town? Drive around, look at the phone book, do whatever you need to know, or whatever you need to do to really understand what the fabric of business is here within the city. Incumbent for city council members and so on, when they have opportunity to meet people that have invested within the city, to talk the city up. You are advocates for this city. You are the ambassador for this city. Any questions that you can't answer, ask your staff to go out there and meet with these individuals. Again, I can't reiterate strong enough, the best way to bring in new businesses is to have an environment where the city is known as being business friendly and will do anything it possibly can within its power to make things happen. The city needs to have a marketing plan. We need to have information in a printed format. We need to have increased cooperation with the Chamber of Commerce. In meeting with the Chamber of Commerce last year, I understand that they have somewhat retooled themselves and making it into a much more effective organization. The city should be working with them. City staff and the policymakers, i.e. City Council, should be working hand in hand with the Chamber of Commerce. So they really are truly an effective organization. When you hire, or if you hopefully you will hire a person to come on board, this person should be the lead. Be the one where all questions and comments are funneled through, and that person who's in charge of this program can funnel those questions that they can't answer to the proper authority, i.e. the public works director, the planning director, or what have you, or the finance director, anybody within the city that can answer questions. Nothing worse than a person calling and being shuttled from person to person to person. When the question is asked, give a direct and factual answer. Staff need to be trained because they are the first person to talk to business people. They need to know, and the staff needs to buy in. What can Ceres do, and is Ceres really a good place to do business? Included within the presentation, also included within the actual document itself, is a measuring chart in there. You can actually grade yourself every year as to how you're doing. If you follow this chart and you update it every year, you'll literally have a metric will tell you, am I being wise and prudent the way that I'm spending funds? More importantly, are the funds that I'm expending, are they getting the things that we want? It gives you a quantitative way to gauge your economic program, whether it's good or bad. Bottom line of all this, and I'll read it in the summation. Economic development is a marketplace-driven opportunity and is opportunity-based. Success depends upon remaining current on market conditions and the ability to see and occupy and adopt to opportunities as they arise. You've got to be nimble-footed. Implementing the strategy will confirm the city's leadership role in facilitating and supporting a strong and healthy local economy. Ceres Economic Development Strategy is an economic development work plan specific to Ceres, not an off-the-shelf plan. It's specific to Ceres, and if you read the document, it talks about that. Identifies an action plan, advises the roles to be taken by the city staff, the chamber, and you as a city council, and offers tactics and options and actions to implement and finance implementation. Any questions or comments? I'll be more than glad to answer them. And again, I want to thank the City of Ceres City Council for giving us a chance to work with you. It was a joy, and as was said by Art, started off a little bit rocky there, but the ship got righted. We all started rowing oars in the same direction. I think that finally came out of it was a document that's going to be of tremendous use to the city over the next years. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marshall. Are there any questions? Councilmember Klein.
Well, I mean, from my standpoint, I still am somewhat very disappointed. Okay? Maybe my expectations were completely different than what the end process was, because I expected something more of like, I'm a salesman by trade. I expected something as a sales manager or something like that. They would identify certain things and give you an overview or an insight of how to implement those things. Look at things that were voids. You know, like I went through your recap of this thing here, and I also went through the paper part of the CD that came out, and I'm going, okay, industrial market opportunities. You identified that we needed 27 to 55 acres of land use for industrial. I was expecting that you identified that, and basically some of the areas that we can use where we can use it and what we could use in it, knowing what the community is, whether it is helping, manufacturing, grape harvesting equipment, or something that might be missed in, manufacturing trailers for almond halls, different things like that, and throw out opportunities there. It's just page 12 of your thing, your office market opportunities. It says that it's most likely not to change. My question would be, why isn't it going to change? And what could Ceres do to bring that change, to entice people to come here? You say to work with the Chamber of Commerce. I was sort of looking at, okay, you've done this before. What has worked with the other Chamber of Commerce, with the cities and the city staff and the city councils, and how we can work better together? I know that we are getting, over the course of the years, a stronger Chamber of Commerce, but what have they done to work together? When you say, there were some things in here about our fines and structures. When you said that, I was sort of expecting, okay, to have, like we asked staff to do, a comparison of what Modesto and Turlock and Patterson and everything else has compared to ours. I know when I came on the city council originally, I heard nothing but complaints from people outside that our fees were too high. So I sat down with staff and I looked at our fee structure, and our fee structures were in line with everybody else's. Is what killed us was the school district's fee. And they had it in place because of something the state allowed them to do. And now that they have built those schools, their school district fees have dropped because that's what is mandated by the state. That's more what I was expecting, because I'm a salesman. I'm not an engineer. I'm not in public works or anything like that. And, you know, to give me the tools to go out and implement it. I have sales meetings once a quarter, and that's what they do. When we have category directors that come in that do bakery or do service deli, they come in and they give you the tools to go out and do it and where to find the voids in your business. So, you know, with that being said, that's where I say I was a little disappointed in that aspect of it.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, just a couple, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You know, one of the things, the last time you were here, you know, I asked in regards to seeing if we couldn't find some way to tie the schools into this economic plan. You know, one of the things, and again, you know, being an educator, school teacher here, you know, and again, take great pride in that, we got some great schools. We got some manufacturing classes, and all this stuff kind of could tie into this blueprint. You know, I used the playbook last time we had talked. And I think, you know, again, I think we hit you pretty hard last time. You know, I don't think I'm going to hit you as hard this time, you know, because I can see a kind of a playbook, but at the same time, I see 7 years. You know, this is a 7-year plan. And again, it's like, okay, well, I'd like to have seen, this is the first year, this is the second year, this is the third year. You know, I think I was reading this, I don't know if you have maybe seen it, Mayor, whereas it's almost like you're talking that we need to be shovel-ready. When I say shovel-ready, that, you know, this business come because if we get this infrastructure and this, you know, but how are we going to get that to be shovel-ready? You know, I asked for a Chili's or some sort of thing. How can we get that here? And again, I didn't see that in this here. I could see how maybe we could get to that point if we actually branched out to the commerce and we branched out and got the right people in place and stuff. I spent the last 3 or 4 days going online, and I looked at about 5 different cities that did the same economic blueprint. Pretty similar in regards to how it was written. And again, different cities, different populations, and at the same time, you know, I appreciate the effort that you guys put forward. I would probably like to see a little bit more tied into it. And especially, you know, trying to find some way that we could actually bring the school into this, because again, I think that's an important key to having great schools within a community. I think people will come. So that's it.
Anyone else?
Just a quick comment. Thank you, Marshall, for the document. It is much improved. I see it as a working document. I see it as a document that doesn't give us all the answers that I know that we were all looking for, you know, identifying the businesses and that sort of thing. I see a document that's going to take a lot of work. I still see a document, we got to find, you know, $350,000 annually. How are we going to afford that, right, to move this document forward? With that, it is improved. Still a little disappointing, and in the fact that I think it's been mentioned already, some of the aspects, and I think our education in our community and the schools in our community, Councilman Dross had touched on that. I mean, that's something that really should have been touched in this, because I think it's a big part of the kids that live here sometimes go away to school, but they tend to come back here. What can we bring back into our community? That's some of the things that are being taught in our schools, you know, that could bring jobs and that sort of thing. So, again, much better, but I think it's a document that certainly it's going to take a lot of work and commitment, and I think with that, again, there's dollars involved, and those are the struggles that we're dealing with now. So, but with that said, thank you again for going back and taking a look at this document and hearing us more. I really believe that you did a much better job, and thank you for coming and presenting it too.
Welcome.
Okay. Just a couple of comments. I didn't know if you wanted any. Okay. A couple of comments that or a few comments that I would have is I probably slant a little bit toward Councilmember Klein's comments where I think I was looking for specific actionable items that would say, for instance, the retail industry is looking for the sweet spot of, 10,000 square foot buildings. This is what they're looking for when they come to a city. For example, I'll give you an example. I'm fortunate enough to be working as a consultant on Supervisor DeMartini's industrial park out there. And we have a professional planner that's looking at how they lay out that project. And the planner said, well, you know, down in Southern California and throughout the U.S., the lot depth that people are looking for is anywhere from the 300 to 450 feet in depth. And so let's lay out the streets this way because that's what the industry's looking for. And we're drawing on a lot of things. And I guess what I was looking for is kind of the specifics that said, you know, if you'll build it, you'll attract them, that type of a concept. But, you know, as I went through the document, I realized that, you know, there's a lot of good information in here. It's definitely information we could use. I think it's a very good start. I'd say it's really focused on the statistic side of things. A little disheartening to see, and I think I mentioned it to Marshall before we came in here, that Ceres can capture 14 to 26,000 square foot of office space. My building that I'm in has 12,000 square foot in it in Modesto, so it's a little bit disheartening to think that that's what they're projecting we could get. I would like to think that we could get more than that. I don't know how many square feet are in the Lear building that we just approved for, was it 6th Street? But, I hopefully we can get higher numbers than what they have here. The one section that I really was glad that you touched on was related to business retention. And if I'd have been somebody that was just reading through this, I'd have said, okay, that's common knowledge. Business retention, we need to pay. I mean, it's rhetoric that we get. But it really became apparent to me over the last month or so when I've engaged a few businesses around town and was shocked to hear, and I won't mention any names, but I was shocked to hear that a few of them are growing or going through expansion, and they're looking for alternative sites. They're looking for potential growth areas, and we're not talking to them. And it's a shame on us because they have a lot of our employees currently, and they're looking to double and triple in size in that, and we're not at the table because we don't have that economic person out there talking to them saying, what do you need from us to help you stay? How can we help facilitate that? I'll diverge a little bit here, and I always had an issue a little bit with the housing that we supplied in the city. We did a great job for the entry-level home, but we never got the middle and upper tier homes. And although on the surface that may say, oh, wow, we don't need that. We need to cater to everybody. But the problem with that is, as the workforce starts off at a young age in the middle 20s, they get that first job, and then all of a sudden, as they begin to grow, they begin to look around the city for where's my next jump, where am I going? And we weren't providing that middle and upper tier that allowed the professionals and others to stay within our city that would help draw the amenities. And so I think your section on business retention is right on the mark. We need to make sure that we're getting out there. And I'm not talking just about the retail businesses. I'm talking about the industrial and the office and the commercial businesses that are out there, because they're tucked away in every nook and cranny that we have within our city, and we need to make sure that we're on top of what they're doing. So from that perspective, I think there's a lot of good information in here. I think I would agree with Councilmember Lane that it's a good start. It's something where we can draw on from it. I think we need to add more specifics, like Councilmember Klein mentioned, that we need to dive into some of the specific details. I mean, I'm an engineer, so I tend to grab hold of things that says, if you do X, Y, and Z, you may not get business, but you're going to be a beacon that at least they'll look at you. And I think that's where we want to get. And I also think that we need to be very aggressive in our approach to try to bring businesses. So, I would thank you for what you've done here. I think this is great information for not only for the city of Ceres, but I mean, if you look at your analysis of what the markets and submarkets are for Stanislaus County, I'd love to have a conversation with you as to how did you actually come up with the numbers that said, Ceres can capture 300,000 to 600,000 square feet. How did you come to that? What could we do to make sure that we're closer to the 600,000 than the 300,000? So, those are some of my comments. Again, I know when we first had the discussion, we were a little disappointed with the report. I think it's come a long ways. I still think we can add to it, but I think the key is two things, and you've identified it. We need to have somebody focused on doing that because we currently don't have that. And then we need to use this as a living, breathing document that is constantly evolving. I like the measurements that you have in here so that we can track things, but it needs to be a document that is not put on the shelf that we can refer to. So, my comment is it's a great start. It's something we can go and build on and add some of the specifics to it and go from there. So, I don't know if there's any other comments at this time. Maybe I'll open it up to the public to see if there's any comments. Okay, at this time, I'll open it up to the public to see if anyone has any comments, questions, or...
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Renee Ledbetter, President of the Ceres Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to, I don't know where to start here. I wanted to address some of the issues that you brought up, and let's start with the retail market that he said is pretty well saturated. I don't agree. There's still an opportunity for us to attract a lot of different retail. I don't think that we necessarily have to go after the big box companies, but I think maybe if we start looking at how unique Ceres can be and go out and attract the retail market that offers a uniqueness that will make us unique. And so that is going to be a niche that we focus on. I wanted to also address what the chambers are doing, how are we working together. Councilmember Klein had asked that. Amazingly, city staff and the Alliance, the County Alliance, and the chamber is really working well these days. We are meeting on a regular monthly basis. We're talking about different ways of driving economic development to Ceres. We are not just sitting in the office, we're actually going out, we're talking to businesses. We have a team of ambassadors right now, and we're working with the Alliance to establish a survey so that we could go out and do a needs assessment of our businesses. Basically, if I have 6 different businesses and they all have needs, they're not gonna have the same needs. So we're going to try and address what those needs are and how to help them in any way. But just so you know, we are working very closely with Parks and Recreation, with Building and Planning, and hopefully soon with your Economic Development Director that hopefully will be hired soon. We strongly feel that the Economic Development Director position, I know that it's considered a temporary 18-month term, is that correct?
Down about 14 months.
Okay, so we're hoping that at some point you will reevaluate that and make it a full-time permanent position. This is a full-time job, trust me. I'm a realtor, that's my regular day job, and this has taken a lot of time to go out and meet with these businesses and talk to them and identify what their needs are. So I agree, it's definitely not an 8-to-5 job. So I hope that you will consider that to be a full-time position. As far as the schools, Councilmember Dorosset, we've met with the school district. We are looking at doing a tribute to education. We feel that our school districts are probably one of our top assets that we have here in Ceres. And we don't toot the horn enough about our school programs. We are looking at the different manufacturing programs that we have, the ag-related programs. What we'd like to do is not only take it on a series approach, but since everybody seems to be talking about working as a region, we're going to take a regional approach and invite other schools to come to Ceres to do a tribute for education and identify all of the different programs that exist. Obviously, there's going to be an emphasis on our Ceres programs, but we feel that we need to educate the community on how the schools play that initial setup in pointing our kids in the right direction, whether it is ag, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's engineering, web design, whatever it is. They need to know that those programs currently exist. And then we make that transition into the college-bound students. And then from there, we're also showing how we're working with the Alliance to help those kids who are not college-bound, who are ready to go to work as soon as they graduate. So we are working with the school district in that respect. As far as business retention goes, we feel that that is definitely a major key, because one of the things that I am really disappointed at is going and doing a ribbon cutting for a new business, and 6 months later their doors are closed because they can't stay in business. And so, you know, whether it's initially meeting with a business owner when they get their business license, maybe we need to provide information to them to say, you know, are you really sure you want to open your business? Are you prepared? And ask those questions, because we don't want to see them close 6 months later. And so we are working with staff, we are working with the Alliance to identify a systematic approach so that we can help businesses. We want them to be here in Ceres, and we want them to stay here in Ceres and be a vital part of our community. So that's important. Along the same lines of business retention, I'd like to see more of you at our mixers and our events and our coffee hours, because those help support our businesses. Then they know that you are there to support them. And it's very important to have not only you, but the members of the community come to these businesses for these events. They are free, and we need to promote our local businesses. We were supposed to, I thought, have the Shop Local campaign on tonight's agenda, but apparently it didn't make it. So I'm hoping that that Shop Local campaign is brought to you very soon. We need to have that discussion. This is not some cutesy little marketing campaign that we're talking about. This is a huge economic development component that is going to educate our citizens on why they should shop local. I know that I shared with you 4 weeks ago, and I know the Courier, and I appreciate them printing it in the newspaper. There's a 10-point system that explains why people should shop local and how their sales tax transforms into the services that they provide. Not a lot of people understand that, and so we want to continue to educate them on why they should shop local. Albeit, I know that they can't shop for everything here, but for a good number of things, groceries, things like that, they should be here. One of the things that we'd like to also address is incubators. I read through the strategic plan, and I don't really recall seeing a whole lot on incubators, but I'd like to see us take some of the larger vacant buildings that we have and create incubators out of them. I know that we've talked about that in our initial discussions back in October, and I don't know if you're all aware of how they look and how they feel when they're done, but we've identified a few that we'd like to take you on a tour and show you, so that we could start filling up the vacant spaces that we have here in Ceres. I know that city staff and I had been at a economic development meeting here recently, and we were talking about shovel-ready sites. We learned how to go out and how to prepare identify what the sites are and how to go out and market them, and that's going to be a continuing education process for us, but we intend to go out and do it. We do not intend to sit back and let this plan sit on the shelf any longer. I mean, we've seen it happen before, and we're just not going to let that happen again. I would like to tell you that we are in the process, and I've looked over some of the things that is in the report that it suggests. The Chamber, obviously, you know, is working on the Shop Local campaign. We are disseminating a lot of the information that we're doing on the Ceres Chamber website. We have a community calendar of events. We are in the process of developing brochures and pamphlets and things like that so that they can be distributed from the community center, the city hall, and the chamber office, of course. We're getting ready to launch the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We recently secured a convention, hopefully. I'm not going to say who just yet. I don't want to jinx it, but we're hopefully in the process of bringing some groups to the community center because we have a beautiful facility here and we need to start getting it booked more often during the week. I know a lot of use is on the weekends, but we need to start promoting it. We have great access to our downtown. We are promoting our downtown. As you know, we are working with CDRAB to revitalize the downtown area, and we will probably enhance our Citizens Advisory Board that we're working on with CDRAB. Hopefully we can open that, expand it a little bit more to the community. Let's see. We've also established a business academy. I know that it says to grow and develop local businesses, that we need to offer certain courses and seminars, workshops, and things like that for local businesses. We have a workshop coming up on March 19th, which is a Let's Talk Taxes workshop. And that's in conjunction with one of our local businesses, H&R Block. They're providing experts to be here and talk to citizens, business owners, if they have tax issues about their business, if they need to avoid an audit or have to know how to deduct certain expenses. We'll have experts on hand so that they can answer those types of questions. Those seminars will be free to our chamber members, and it's called the Ceres Small Business Development Academy. So we're hoping that more businesses will utilize that, and we will bring in, at no cost to chamber members, these experts to help them, whether it's with social media, moving their networks to the iCloud, learning how to use Microsoft Word, whatever the case may be, whatever the seminar is, we are working on that. And then, of course, you know, finally, I really can't thank the council and Mr. DeWork long enough for giving us city staff. I mean, for many, many years, the chamber functioned without that communication and collaboration. And I think that has been key in moving forward, moving the chamber forward. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on any of those things that I just mentioned. But you can find it all on the Ceres Chamber website too.
Well, first off, a comment. You know, I apologize if you took it that I said the chamber's not doing enough, because I know firsthand the chamber is doing a great job, and over the course of the years they have improved and are more and more active. I believe my comment was that I wished that other cities and their chamber, their successes was included in the report, so that if we need to, we could go a different direction or we can implement it. Because I do know firsthand that the chamber over the last 3 or 4 years have gotten more and more active and involved in the city and working with the staff. So if you took it that I said you guys weren't, I apologize.
No, I didn't. I just wanted to clarify so that you knew that we were working together.
Oh, I know you are. So. And that's what I said. I just wanted, you know, other things included in the report. Okay?
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. DeWork?
Just a couple of points. I don't know if this is the best time to mention it, but Renee and others in the audience, we are headlong into a selection process for that ED development person. And I have already discussed with some of the council members the prospect of turning this into, you know, a long-term thing, because I agree, and I've had a number of people say it's a tough case to attract the best possible candidate when it's the job's got a defined shelf life on it. So we're very aware of that. The other thing is that the staff still plans to engage the council and the chamber in a study session. It wasn't our intent to come to a regular meeting to discuss the shop series concept. And the mayor had asked us at some point to discuss this in the context of, you know, how we use the community center facility and how that relates to possibly, you know, companies and businesses that want to do activities here. And anyway, just in the bigger picture, to see if there's ways to, you know, to expand business and to create a magnet using this facility in particular as a way to enhance business activities. So we should be seeing an outcome with the selection of the ED development person actually quite soon. So.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the council for direction or action on this item.
Well, first off, I'd like to make a comment that, you know, they did put a tremendous amount of work in it. It came a long ways since the first time they did it. But for me, I can't accept it as complete because of what my expectations were. So with that, you know, my expectations were a little bit more of a sales manager type thing. So with that, I can't support it as far as being complete.
Okay. Any other comments? Anybody want to make a motion? Either way, either complete or not complete, so.
What's going to make it complete for you, Councilmember Klein? I'm just curious.
Well, what my comments were, you know, I expected it as a sales tool, something there to help project things, to identify certain things, you know, and how to engage, whether it's city staff or when we hire an economical development director, of the tools to go out and implement these things.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, sir. Councilman Klein, I would like to direct your attention to we quoted you price on this particular project and a scope of work. It was detailed line by line what we would provide you. We have done that. Every condition within that contract, everything that was stated within our scope of services has been provided to you, period. Period. We went $24,000 over budget. I did not come back to you and say, I need more money. We ate it. Decisions we made, but we have completed the scope of work that we presented to you, period.
And I understand what you're saying, but I also, when you first became before the council and you brought this thing out, I also asked for a copy of what you've done with other entities, and I was told that I didn't need it, that I didn't need to look at that with what we did with other entities. I also remember that when it was first presented, when they brought in these things of the transportation and different clusters, I asked what each one of those clusters, what their subcategories are, and yet I have not seen that either.
I move for adoption of Resolution 2014-24.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, motion carries 4-1. Thank you, Marshall. Mr. DeWerk, let's kind of use this as the document that we put in front of the candidates that we're interviewing, and maybe we can wrap in there that we want to add a chapter that identifies the idea that Mr. Klein, Councilmember Klein had, that kind of gives us that the actionable items that are a little more specific. I mean, I think there's some really good stuff in here. So, you know, I definitely think it came a long ways from where we were, so. Next, before we move to council member referrals, Mr. DeWort.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I understand the direction you just gave, and just do want to point out that all candidates have reviewed and also gave staff input on their perceptions. Now, granted, it's not likely that we would get a lot of negative feedback, but in fact, we got pretty good feedback on it. Okay. It was described by several of the candidates as being a very useful document. And then I was going to ask Cindy to make sure that you give me some minutes so that I can capture Councilmember Klein's words specifically, and that we can follow up accordingly. So thank you very much, Council.
Okay, with that, I will move to council member referrals, but I think before we did that, Mr. DeWort.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On Friday, the 14th of this week, the council and certain key staff are going to be meeting in a setting to discuss the future of this organization. And I've been giving a lot of thought to the fact that I've been in this acting city manager position, which frankly, if my memory serves me correctly, was supposed to be about a 6-month or 1-year assignment. It's been 3.5 years. So what I see at this time is a community and a state economy, and I'm not going to say that the economy is doing great, but in fact, we're seeing more building activity, more proposals for projects that are being routed through the planning department. People like Renee Ledbetter, she's adding vibrancy and energy to this community, and frankly, she's going to overwhelm me because I'm running a fire department and a police department. I don't want to get in the way of the prosperity and the forward progress of this city. And I know I'm saying this with a lot of affirmation. What I'm asking the council to do this Friday is to take a look at the situation that I've been in and that we collectively as a team are in. You need to ask yourselves, is this an arrangement that you wish to have continued? And that's a fair question. And if the council determines that it's time to move to a different arrangement, perhaps with somebody that we bring in from the outside or another internal candidate, then I'm in total support of that. But in fairness to me personally, to the people here, the people in our community, the question has to be asked. Now, how you answer that, I'll wait until Friday to see how you deal with that. I will do whatever I'm asked. I have been that way for the last 15 years. But I don't want the council to get to a point where you feel like you have to ask me, is it time to make changes? I don't want to face that. And I'm very proud. I'm like a wartime person. And maybe that's because of my cop background of 41 years. But I do my best work when there's a lot of trouble, and when there's a lot of anxiety, and there's instability, and a future of unknowns. And that's the way it looked here 3.5 years ago. So at the risk of tooting my own horn, I think that the best of my capabilities have been utilized. But if this city is now in a transition that calls for a different leadership style, then I think you need to answer that question. Now, it may be that the council will say, no, we're still in a crisis and we need a guy like you. I'll step up to the plate. But please ask that question of yourselves before Friday, confront it directly, and let me and the community know what you'd like to do. And I'm not complaining. I think that it's been an incredible opportunity. Many people told me 3.5 years ago that to be successful was impossible for an individual who's carrying the full weight of 2 public safety departments and then to also be the lightning rod for the entire city organization. I'm not sure that other people would have wanted to do it is the real question. I think, of course, there are some people who are more skilled than I have, but that's not the point. I'm opening the door to you asking that question of yourselves. Deal with it, and let's see what comes up on Friday.
Okay. Thank you. For those of you who don't know, we do have a city council session on Friday to talk about, affirmation of the goals that we've set in the past and some team building. So I think I'll turn to the city attorney. I think I would like to agendize some time to talk about, the city manager role, as well as succession planning and different things. I know with Mike Borges moving on, there's discussions there, and other positions that I think that we should probably talk a little bit about. So if we can do that, that would be greatly appreciated.
Fine, if that is the consensus of the council. We do have to prepare an agenda for the meeting on Friday. It is a special meeting, and as the council is aware, we're somewhat limited at special meetings what we can discuss, and we can discuss only those items that are agendized. So, and so if there is a consensus of the council that council wishes to discuss the circumstances that exist regarding whether there is a need to move on with the permanent city manager position and succession planning, certainly we'll make that part of the agenda. If there's anyone who on the council who thinks that's not appropriate, why now would be the time to step up, but I don't see that, so that being the consensus, we will do so.
Okay, thank you. With that, is there anything else that council member would like to refer to a future agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll start. Ms. Cumberland?
Well, Mayor, I would like to let you and the council know that I will be retiring this year. November 7th will be my last day with the city, and I told my staff today, so I wanted to be the one to tell you guys before you heard it through the grapevine.
Thank you. Mike, you might want to add that to the succession planning. Okay. Mr. Lyons?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. Mr. DeWart?
No, I don't.
Okay. Mr. Westbrook, Mr. Wells, Mr. Britton, Mr. Collins, Ms. Dean, Bettina. Maybe this is the last time. Mr. Borges. There must be a 2-for-1 out going on out there. Mr. Nichols? Nothing. Supervisor DiMartini? Okay. Thank you. With that, did I miss anyone out there? If I did, I apologize. Okay. With that, we will adjourn to closed session conference with legal counsel, property negotiators. And then we will, nothing to report out on that, I don't believe, but we will adjourn till, I guess, this Friday, and then following that will be our Monday, March 24th meeting. Thank you.